Hello, and thank you for your interest in the Condusiv I/O assessment tool, our lightweight software tool that will help you troubleshoot storage performance problems with physical or virtual Windows servers. My name is Spencer Allingham, and I'm the Regional Vice President and Technical Director at Condusiv for the EMEA region. And I want to show you today how easy the I/O assessment tool is to install, how easy it is to start measuring performance, and what type of useful information you can glean from the report it produces. So without further ado, I'll fire up some computers and we can get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is fire up one of my virtual machines and we'll see how easy this I/O assessment tool is to install, how little time it takes. So let's fire up a VM. There we go. I've got it already downloaded here. So this is how difficult it is to install. Not very. So we'll say yes, we want to go ahead and install it. And next, accept the license agreement and install. Now it's worth noting that you don't have to install this on all of the machines that you want to measure. Okay, that isn't necessary. All you need to do is install it on one machine that can see the machines that you want to measure on the network, and it actually gathers data from them using the Windows operating system. It uses Windows Management Instrumentation, or WMI, to get the data that it needs to produce the report. So no need to install on all of your live servers, just on one machine that can see those servers that you want to measure. So now that we've got it installed, let's run it for the first time and I'll show you how easy it is to have it start measuring machines. So you'll see there are three main parts to getting this up and running. The first is to enter the machines that you want to monitor or measure. This can be IP address, host name, fully qualified domain name. So I'm going to put in some host names. So I've got one called management, I've got one called velocity, I've got one called Windows 10. And this machine is my domain controller. I'm going to include that as well, but because I've got the software running on here, I can just use localhost. There we go. So that's pretty easy. Just select the machines you want to measure. I would suggest measure up to 25 systems at a time. Otherwise the assessment at the end will take a very long time. But up to 25 is about right. Try to choose machines that you know are generating a lot of storage traffic. So those tend to be things like SQL servers, busy file servers, or it could be the type of systems that maybe users are complaining about, maybe CRM, ERP, business information systems, anything that's generating a lot of storage traffic or that are quite critical to your business or organization. That's what you want to measure. So the next part is to tell it how long you want it to run for and when to start. So you can say, I want it to run for 1 day or up to 7 days. I would suggest 1 or 2 days is usually sufficient. So I'm going to say 1 day, and then you can say I want to start on a particular day at midnight, or I want to start now. The final thing you need to do to get it going is to enter some domain credentials so that the tool can access those other machines on the network and pull the information that it needs to create the report. So let me do that. There we go. And finally, hit the Start Data Collection button. Now when you do that, you'll see a countdown timer showing how long the measurement has left to go. When that countdown timer reaches 0, it will analyze the information, and after a few minutes it will display the report, which will show you some very useful metrics and information that will help you troubleshoot performance issues. So let's take a closer look at that and see what type of information you can get from the report. Let's close this off. Don't want to wait for 24 hours for that to complete. So I'll fire up the tool again and I'll open an example report. So instead of now entering the information as we did before to make it start measuring, we're going to skip right down to the bottom, and we've got this button here to view a previous data report. and I've helpfully got one on my desktop. So let's load that in. It'll take a moment to analyze the data in that CSV file. And here we go. Let's make that nice and big. So first of all, you have this table of data, which looks a little overwhelming at first glance, but I promise you it's not. Let's turn on all of the systems so that all of the machines measured are in the report. So we've got quite a few in here. And the first thing you might notice is that there's a color-coded symbol here showing systems with the worst storage I/O deviation. Those are the ones with the most critical issues that you might want to resolve. Systems with moderate issues, and the green is systems actually that are running just fine. You can see other useful information like the total amount of storage I/O traffic that's been processed by each machine, what percentage of that traffic was read I/O traffic, reading from the disk storage array, the total number of storage I/Os created, kilobytes per I/O, how big the I/Os are, the I/O response time. How long was it taking on average to satisfy I/O requests from each machine? That's quite a key metric. Now, all of these column headings are sortable. So, for example, if you wanted to see which machines were having the slowest I/O response times, well, you can do that. And we can see some of these systems now listed at the top had quite a high I/O response time. Typically, sort of an I/O response time of 15 milliseconds or above is not brilliant. You really want to try and bring that down. Usually if it's 20 milliseconds or above, users are likely going to be noticing slows, lagginess, and are probably going to be complaining. So that's quite a useful table, shows you a lot of data right there. But we also have these other metrics down here which graph out over a 24-hour period what was going on. So we've got things like the amount of workload, the amount of storage I/O traffic in gigabytes, and you can see there's a useful graph showing what time of day more storage I/O traffic was being generated. Looks like clearly there was a lot going on during the working day, but there was a peak here at 9 o'clock in the evening. So on this workload, that's probably when the backup started, at a guess. This red dotted line is a median average, so you can easily at a glance see what hours of the day were producing more storage traffic than average. And yet we've got some peaks here during the working day as well as the backup in the evening as well. Now each of these are expandable. Let's expand them all out and take a look at a few key ones. So I mentioned average I/O response time. Now, looking at this, it doesn't look too bad. The median average is about 4 milliseconds, which is okay. Could be a little better, but it's not bad. I don't think anybody's going to be complaining too much. However, we did notice, looking at the table at the top, we had a number of systems that were significantly higher than that. So if these are business critical systems, these are ones that maybe you want to do something with. And of course we have software tools in addition to the I/O assessment tool that will help you do that in a number of ways, help to reduce this storage latency, and it does that by reducing storage I/O traffic that actually has to go out and be dealt with by the storage array by somewhere between 30 to 50%. So it's quite a workload reduction on the storage. So that helps to reduce I/O queue depths, helps to reduce storage latency, and it introduces as well very intelligent AI-led RAM caching. So if we can satisfy a good amount of the read I/O traffic from RAM cache, that traffic first of all gets satisfied at the speed of RAM rather than the speed of the media in the disk storage array, which, you know, RAM is still faster than flash and SSD, but it's hugely faster if you have any spinning disk technology in the back end, such as 15K SAS drives or something similar. So that's definitely something worth bearing in mind. That I/O reduction, optimization and RAM caching technology is in our Diskkeeper and Velocity software products. So if you want to try those out, if you're seeing higher storage latency or need to get better performance, go along to our website at www.condusiv.com/try, and you can download a free 30-day trialware copy that'll run fully featured for those 30 days and see what the software can do for you and help your performance. Now, back to the I/O assessment tool. Let's have a look at some of these other metrics. We've got the storage I/O queue depths at different times of the day, the number of split I/Os that are going on. Now, not everybody knows about split I/Os, but this is a situation where the Windows operating system has been given a right to perform that's of a reasonable size, and because of the way the Windows file system works, it will often take that larger right and split it into many more much smaller storage I/O packets, and each packet gets sent out separately to the storage at the back end. It's hugely inefficient and it can really dampen performance. So that Diskkeeper and Velocity software that I mentioned has intelligence in it that will help the Windows file system prevent or avoid most of those split I/O situations. The net result is that you get fewer but larger storage I/O packets, each one carrying a larger payload of data on down to the storage, so that write and any subsequent reads can be dealt with in a much more sequential manner, and that's very good for efficiency and performance. So we can see what the I/Os per second were looking like at different times of the day. It looks like there was something quite major going on at 8 o'clock in the morning on this particular day. You can see the I/O sizes. Now, how big are the storage I/O packets going out to the storage? Obviously, the larger they can get out there, the more sequentially they can be dealt with, and the more efficiently they can be dealt with. Then we have a calculation of the I/O blender effect index. This is very helpful if you have a number of machines all sharing the back-end storage. Now, this could be a mixture of physical Windows servers and or virtual Windows servers. If they're all sharing the back-end storage, you can have a situation where storage I/O traffic from one or more machines are having to wait and be queued up because of storage I/O traffic coming from other machines that are sharing the same back-end storage. So think of it like I/O queue depths in a single machine, but now taking into account all of the other machines that are sharing that same back-end storage. Now, this will give you an indication of how bad that is, and of course I/O reduction with Velocity and Diskkeeper helps alleviate this issue. Seconds per gigabyte. How long is it taking to process a gigabyte of storage I/O traffic? You want it to be done as quickly as you possibly can, because that's going to give you the best performance up at that Windows operating system layer. Then we have the read to write ratio. Are there a lot of read I/Os taking place? That's read I/O traffic that potentially could come from Velocity or Diskkeeper's RAM cache. In this situation, yes, these blue bars are the percentage of reads as opposed to writes. So clearly this environment is a very good candidate for RAM caching. The next one is memory utilization. Is there enough RAM free to cache with? Clearly you're not using more than 40% in this environment, so yes, there's memory free that can be used for caching, so that's a very healthy situation to be in. And the last one is CPU utilization. If your CPU usage is averaging out sort of 70, 80, 90% CPU used, you really don't have a storage I/O bottleneck, you're more CPU bound. But in this case, well, the median average is less than 5% of CPU utilization. So really these workloads are hardly even tickling the processors. So there's no CPU bottleneck here, and by improving the performance of that storage I/O traffic, we can really help the overall performance and condition of the IT estate. At the end of the report, we have a conclusion. So this is often where people will look first, because it gives you a very brief, concise overview. The first part is the potential for I/O performance optimization. It's either going to be low, medium, or high. And that's using software like Diskkeeper or Velocity to do things like avoid split I/Os, reduce or eliminate the amount of storage I/O traffic that actually has to go out to the back-end storage array, and with that RAM caching technique that I mentioned. and then we have a brief bullet point summary of why we think the potential is what it is. So in this case, we've got moderate I/O performance issues detected. That could be high, it could be low. It says these systems are experiencing moderate lags in I/O responsiveness. Well, that could be improved. These systems are experiencing moderate levels of unnecessary I/Os or split I/Os. Again, those can easily be avoided with that Diskkeeper or Velocity software. These systems are experiencing moderate barriers to achievable data throughput rates. If we fix these things, you're going to get data throughput rates that are larger. Data can be transferred more efficiently, more quickly, more fast. And these systems are experiencing moderate lags due to conflicting I/Os from remote systems. So that's that I/O blender effect. Again, that can easily be reduced and that performance penalty made to go away by introducing the Diskkeeper or Velocity software to those machines that we measured. Now, the good news about Diskkeeper and Velocity is that they can be installed without any disruption. There's no reboots required, no interruption to live running workloads or users. You just simply install or uninstall the software. There's no interruption there to upset anybody. And usually you can start getting pretty positive results in just a matter of minutes. So if you are seeing performance issues after running the I/O assessment tool, especially on your more important servers, go to the website at condusiv.com/try, get a 30-day trial of either Diskkeeper or Velocity and see what it can do for you. And if you want to go over the I/O assessment tool report with an engineer such as myself, you'll find it produces a little CSV file in the folder where you installed the software. So that I'll show you very quickly. It's on your C drive, Program Files x86, Condusiv Technologies IOAT, and in here will be a CSV file. If you email that to us, we will be more than happy to step through that with you. For a limited time, we're allowed to provide you a free analysis and written engineer's report. So share it with us, let us know. You can also share it by printing the report or saving it to a PDF file and emailing that to us. And you can even submit the results directly to one of our servers at head office. But just email us as well to let us know that we need to go and pick it up, because it wouldn't necessarily notify us. So I hope that's helpful. Use this I/O assessment tool to identify those servers which are causing you performance issues, and then let us know, and we can help you find very cost-effective fixes for those storage performance issues. We can help make them go away without the need to start purchasing additional hardware. Not everybody's got the budget for that next major storage refresh or for an all-flash array, but this is a very good way of significantly increasing performance without that significant hardware investment. So I hope this has been useful. Thank you very much for listening, and do feel free to share your reports with us. Thank you and take care.